2005, we wandered into the Grand'Anse River Valley, which is one of the poorest and most remote parts of the country. And today we do all kinds of things. We do medical clinics and help folks get needed surgeries. Last year we served over 50,000 meals to children. But one of the first things we realized when we wandered into the valley was how few children are really able to attend school because the families are poor and don't have the money for school, because there aren't enough schools. And so we began to build schools. That was one of the first things we did. We built 5 schools in the last 10 years, working with the Haitian churches in different villages. And so as a result of those efforts, there are about 1,000 more children getting an education today than there were 10 years ago.
In 2014, I made my first trip to Haiti, and as a teacher, I was very excited about this because I was going to be able to help out with the child sponsorship program. And part of that is going around and visiting each of the 5 schools and photographing the children. There was something kind of bothering me as we went from school to school, and since everything was kind of new and all the cultural experiences were new, I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And when I got back home and had some time to process the trip and what I had seen, I began to figure out that it was about the kids and the conditions. Just watching them in classrooms that were so crowded, with so many little bodies crammed onto benches, and sometimes as many as 70 kids in one classroom. And they were trying so hard to be good. They were trying so hard to behave. And they were expected to sit for sometimes 3 or 4 hours at a time and focus on a teacher who had them reciting things. I sat down with Fran to talk with him a few months after returning from the trip. And we kind of started to talk a little bit about my first impressions of the trip and my first impressions of the school. And at the time, I didn't know that he shared some of the same concerns. So I told the story of Shedley.
I had an experience with a little Haitian girl that really challenged my thinking and raised some new questions for me. We were at one of the schools helping children write letters to their sponsors because we have a child sponsorship program, and this little girl, whose name is Shedley, has sponsors here in the Chicago area. And so I was going to help Shedley write a letter to her sponsors. And so I sat down with her, and she hadn't written anything yet. And I asked her if she had read the letter that she received from her sponsors. And she said no. And I said to her, "Did you not have time to read the letter because you've been busy in school today?" And she was just kind of quiet. And I began to wonder if there was something else going on. And so I looked at her and I said, "Shedley, est-ce que can you read?" And she dropped her eyes down. She didn't want to look in my eyes, and she said, "No." Shedley is in 4th grade. And so I sat there and I thought, how can this be that she's in 4th grade and she can't read? And the answer is really twofold. Haitian classrooms in these schools are always overcrowded, and the style of teaching, the method of teaching, is mostly lecture.
The children are just not engaged. They aren't interacting with each other. They aren't interacting with the teacher. And so they're just kind of on the receiving end and supposed to somehow absorb this instruction like sponges.
Through 3 plane rides home to Chicago, I just kept saying to myself, we've got to do something about this.
Operation Better Learning is a project designed to create a model school after which other schools in the Grand'Anse River Valley can be patterned. Model school will have a very different method of instruction and a different educational philosophy. These kids are going to love learning. They're going to learn to read, and they're going to have a future.
And here's the thing. We aren't just going to change the lives of the kids who are going to attend this model school. All of the schools, all of the villages, all of the churches that we partner with over the decades ahead, all those schools are going to be patterned on this model school. So Operation Better Learning, we're not just trying to change the lives of, 50 or 100 or 200 kids. We're trying to change the way education is done. We're going to change the way education is done across this entire valley.
We know what needs to happen, and now we need people to partner with us. These are the poorest of the poor, and we have an opportunity here to change their future.